Oh, can't stop addicted. Anyway, hey, welcome in to. How the hell do we already have a thumbs down? Jesus Christ, that was fast. All right, welcome in to episode 119 of the Pucknologists here on Super Bowl Sunday. And I know why you're here. It's because the game sucked. Oh, did it suck? Was it as bad as the Sharks versus Anaheim this weekend? No, but it was bad. Hey, AJ_Strong on the social media, all those platforms and channels. Joining tonight, Rocket Backhander.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
And joining us, I'm sorry, let me turn on his camera here if I can find the switch. And joining us, Hockey Jerk. There we go. Hello, Sploogie.
You know what, dude? I spend the entire time that you and Rocket are talking thinking, okay, what kind of witty thing am I going to say as the preamble here? And you just blow me away with the picture every time. What I was going to say was that I'm going to be pissed when we inevitably decide to change that intro to something else.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, man. Hey, do us a favor. Follow us on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, all those fun places. Hit the subscribe button while you're on YouTube and subscribe to our podcasts on whatever platform you prefer. And don't forget, if you ever miss this show and want to hear it back in its entirety, your favorite podcast platform, always on YouTube and always at Teal Town, USA. So let's get into the week that was in Sharks hockey, shall we? Yikes. Ugh. I mean, look, some former Sharks are doing well. Drew Remenda did return to the Sharks broadcast, and we do have our Facebook comment of the week to look forward to. But look, we played 2 in SoCal. And to start this off, look, earlier in the week, I asked Boughner, did he notice that, hey, maybe the guys are a little bit more relaxed because they're playing finally on their own practice sheet and getting home-cooked meals, sleeping in their own bed. And Boogie said, yeah, definitely noticed a difference.
I definitely see that. I saw that the first practice back. And, as the week's gone by here, again, yesterday was a rest day. But, yeah, I think the attitude's good. I think everybody's, everybody's happy to be home. And you could tell that when things are good in your personal life and your loved ones and your family and your kids and everybody are, in a good place, that makes things a lot easier on you. And I could sense that when the guys are here to work, they come, they're working hard, they're enjoying being here at the room together. And I think as that road trip went on more and more, it just, it got to be, it one day ran into another, and it was good to get a change and come home. And I sense the freshness.
So I guess you could sit there and say those 2 games that were postponed against Vegas worked in the Sharks' benefit to a certain extent. But let's start with game 1 at Anaheim. Martin Jones gets the start. Matt Nieto opens scoring, tipping in a pass from Sorensen, while Sasha Chmelevski gets his first NHL point. Hello, Beach Boys. That's going to be a thing. The Sharks outshoot 17-8 the Ducks in the first period. Sharks were buzzing. Nieto looked solid. And then the second period started. And what had happened was it took the Sharks nearly half a period to get a shot on goal. The Sharks give up 3 goals in that period. The defense goes AWOL. Rocket, you hate to see it.
Yeah, it's almost like Anaheim's coaching is effective. It's I really have to give it to Anaheim. I always have to say this for second period, is that the opposing team's coaching generally seems to know how to solve a problem like Maria, and they do so post haste in the second period. And then the Sharks have to struggle with realizing that their game, their game has been had, that they have been had, and that they kind of have to come up with plan B on the fly. I've noticed this trend. It's disturbing, but it's nothing new.
Well, Boughner would challenge the team before the third. Couture comes out 40 seconds in. He scores from Kane and Burns. 90 seconds later, Evander gets a shorty, first one for the Sharks on the season. Of course, coming out of the third, Boughner also said, let's tweak everything. That's right. We're going to switch up the D pairs, put Knizhov with Carlson. Let's put Ferraro with Burns. Let's put Vlasic with Šimik. The line blender is set to frappe. And Burns would then give the Sharks a 4-3 lead from Donato and Gambrell. That's Burns' 700th NHL point. But Comtois would tie it in the third for his second of the game, and we're off to overtime. At this point, Jerk, you have to be going, well, at least there was some sort of a comeback. Or I should say a response after choking 3 away in the second.
Yeah. So I'm watching this game and I see that first period and I thought I was so smart. I was going to throw out a tweet and say something like, oh well, the Ducks are a worse team than the Sharks, so the Sharks should be playing better. But at the same time, how bad would it be if they weren't playing better? I was totally ready to fire that off. And then, I didn't. After seeing the second period, I didn't want anybody to, for some reason, blame that on my tweet, so I decided against it. But I have to say I was a bit surprised at the comeback in the third period that you mentioned, AJ. I mean, Couture gets that one, and then obviously Kane and Burns as well, and just the fact that yes, it was a comeback, but it was also from the big name players on the team. It's not like you had Matt Nieto with the hat trick or anything. I mean, that would be awesome, but that's not the guy you need to be scoring big goals. It's the big players. And so obviously they came through on that one. But like you said, Max Comtois, he seems to like playing against the Sharks. So I'm not really surprised he made it 4-4 on that one. And then, you're talking about the overtime. I can't be the only one who's starting to get sick of the slow it down play in the 3-on-3 overtime. Like I almost turned the game off because of that. Like it's not even a chess match at that point. It's literally like, we're gonna stare at the wall and watch the newly fresh coat of paint dry for 5 minutes.
No, you're right.
Agreed.
They just keep throwing it back into their own D zone, and it's like, well, we're just gonna sit there and wait out the other team. Hopefully, they make a mistake or something. There's not a. It's kind of funny when you consider that Boughner was talking about how we want to focus on our speed and have attack, and that's why we bring in guys like Nieto, right? And Donato's obviously got some good wheels. Where is that? I guess we're going to wait for it. Donato did get called for a high stick in OT. The Sharks kill a 4-on-3 to get to the shootout. Donato and LeBanc score in the shootout while Jones is like Wall, denying every. Did you know that Martin Jones let in a shootout goal, like the very first shot that he saw in the shootout, and since then hasn't let in a single one? It's pretty impressive.
Well, it's because, the pace of the shootout matches the pace of his mobility when he's playing goal. So.
Oh,
Jesus Christ!
There's nobody screening the shot. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's nobody to get in his way.
Right.
And I
don't know. Some I guess some people are just more calm in that kind of environment. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what it takes to get him dialed in, hey, whatever.
Well, I mean, speaking of Donato, dude, he's both of these games against Anaheim go to a shootout, and Donato is just absolutely filthy in both of them. Just sick. Just amazing amount of patience. And I'll tell you, the one in game one, I was like, God, was he coming away? Because you're supposed to maintain that forward progress, right? Mm-hmm. I was just like, oh, he is just right on the line. Anyway, penalty kill was perfect 3 for 3 while going 0 for 3 for 3 coming in, or I should say after this game against Anaheim. 1 for their last 26 opportunities. But wait, it'll get worse. For the second straight game, Hertl played under 16 minutes, well below his season average of 1940. He ended up moving to the wing in the third period, played on a line with Gregor and Marlowe, and Hertl didn't play a shift in overtime. Conversely, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, only 16 minutes of ice time through 3 periods after averaging 22 a night, definitely reducing those minutes. And following the game, Boughner had this to say regarding the adjustments that he made.
Well, I obviously wasn't happy with a couple, the personnel back there and on a couple goals. And, we were just trying to play the guys that were going and, And the same thing with the forward lines. We switched them up in the third period. I didn't like Hurdle's line again, and switched that up and moved him out of the middle and put him on the wing. And so there's just changes that we look at in between periods, and we watch all the chances against and for, and who's generating and who's not, and who's costing us. And certain situations, you got to make decisions and adjustments.
It's funny. He's not really naming names, but all you need to do is look at the time on ice and go, yeah, there's some people on this team that he's not happy with.
Yeah. And I like, too, that he's willing to basically say, hey, I don't care if you're our best player. Like, if you're not going to play like it, you're not going to play. And I think that's a huge difference from, the Peter DeBoer kind of style of coaching, where it was like there were these random guys, Donskoy, Barclay Goodrow, who was just like, hey, no matter what you do, yeah, you're going to be on line 4. Yeah. But, guys like, Yannick Hansen, who did nothing in Teal, like was regularly is like, okay, Jumbo, Pavs, and Hansen. Like, so it's a nice change of pace, where you have a coach who says, we don't care if you're the best player, we're going to bench you if you're not playing like it, and then to actually see that happen, it's refreshing and it's nice. I think accountability is huge, especially some of the contracts that are handed out on this team. I mean, yes, you're paid based on what you've already done, but there's still an expectation that you're going to continue to do what you've already done.
And to further that question, or to further that statement, Jerk, I have a question for you. In that, do you feel that this presence from Boughner, as far as like, if we're doing badly as a team, you're all badly in my eyes, there's no good, or like there's no like prima donnas among you, do you feel that that's a response to maybe some issues that were going on before this? And do you feel like they're trying to set up a precedent for maybe like next season to try to change direction with that?
Yeah, I could see that. I just think, like you said, it's more of kind of like if things start to go sour, right? Where it's like, it's kind of that idea of like, look, we win together and we lose together. You know what I mean? So I almost wonder if it's a way to keep each other accountable. You know what I mean? Where it's like one, yeah. and not to say that anybody has done this at this point in the season, but let's just say there's one player who's just, they're not doing anything to contribute at all, and you know what? It brings the whole team down. And so I totally see in that, where it's like, hey, I'm gonna praise you when you stand out, and I'm going to also stand out positively. I'm also going to criticize you if you stand out negatively, but at the same time, we're a team, and you only go as far as your weakest link, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you were referring to, that's called a Mikkel vodka, right? No?
Hey, you know what? I believe there's a certain friendly wager from a few years back that tells you how I feel on that.
Oh, that bot is still hot.
Oh, my God. Well, talking about that, here's Bob Boughner on what happened during the second intermission.
Yeah, there was a lot said. I think I was upset with the guys. I think they're upset with themselves. It's it's your character's in question there when you have such a good first period and you come back and all of a sudden, hey, our power play didn't go as well as we thought or that we wanted, and we lost momentum, I think, that way. But at the end of the day, it's at the same time, I mean, it's a 5-5 game, and we got to get our 5-5 game established again. And I didn't like a couple of the goals. I thought that we looked basically uninspired a little bit in parts of the second period when it started getting tough, and they scored that first goal. And you come in after that period and you challenge guys, and our best players, some of our best players have to be a little better, and they know who they are. And I'm not going to pinpoint them out in the media, but there's guys in there that have a lot more to give, and and they got challenged in between periods, and it was time to look ourselves in the mirror a little bit, and it's a gut check. And they responded. Give them credit. We came out and it started with Cooch's line.
Now, look, I understand your best players have to be your best players, but I am starting to get a little tired of hearing Boughner use that. Like at some point he needs to be like, Best players. You know what? Erik Karlsson needs to stop sucking is what I'm trying to say. Tomas Hertl needs to get on the bus.
It's not always them, though. You know,
they're
just easy to pick on.
I don't know. And I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this team with the second period. I even went so far as to ask Burns, what's happening with this team during the second period where you've, at this point, have been outscored 18-5. That's huge. Burns really didn't have much of an answer.
Seems like the second period's been kind of the Achilles heel for the Sharks this season. What do you think is making that difference in the middle frame so far over 9 games?
Maybe these road buildings, maybe they're slanted down. I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Maybe when you get home, it'll be different. Hope so.
If you figure it out, let us know.
I was totally waiting for him to just be like, next question, dork.
Well, I mean, I think it's a valid question. Like, why can't this team put it together during the second? I mean, is it the long, that you got the bench, the way you switch lines? I mean, that for me, that's like, is that the only reason? Because it's the only difference, right? I mean, you've had last change in every game, or I'm sorry, first change in every game because they're all been on the road. So explain to me why you guys just can't put it together in the second frame. I don't get it.
Obviously, he doesn't either. But if you know.
Yeah, if you know, what what is it? Burnsy80 at Burnsy88 on Twitter, I think, or something like that. Whatever his Twitter is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you know, send it in to him.
Help a brother out.
Yeah. Now, for, Jerk sits here and makes fun of me going, next question, dork, which, yes, absolutely. But it's funny that Hedekin would actually reference that quote during the next broadcast, which I got a kick out of because, again, they can't put it together in the second period. But Game 2 versus Anaheim, Dubnyk gets the start this go-around. Rudolph Balcers would slot in for Chmelevski. I'm never going to get that name right. For his Sharks debut, skating with Gambrell and Donato. Gambrell with Gregor and Meyer seemed to be one of the few things that was working for the Sharks, so of course they had to fix that. Couture would score 11 seconds in on Ryan Miller after Gibson started the previous game. And then the Sharks would play 64 minutes and 49 seconds of hockey and not be able to find the back of the net against a 40-year-old Ryan Miller who's only played in 2 other games coming into this one. In the shootout, Troy Terry, that's right, friend of Dylan Gambrell, and Max Comtois would score for the Ducks while only Donato would score in the shootout frame. Again, Donato, sick. I don't know. Maybe they need to put Jones in for shootouts no matter who starts this game.
You mentioned Donato, and I'm just like, you mentioned earlier the forward progress. Like, Chief clearly likes to test how long the referee is willing to let him go on the shot, because the 2 against the Ducks, and I believe against Arizona as well at the beginning of the season, every time he's like, I'm watching and I'm like, you know what? He's already blew it. There's no way he brings it back, and it's in the net and it's a goal. Like he loves flirting with that allotted time that he has.
Dude has an infinite amount of patience on the shootout. It's amazing because he doesn't come in there like super slow, and he's not like fire in the hole, but wow, does he have some patience to just lull the goalie to sleep and just wait for him to bite one way or the other. And then he goes, oh, there's my opening. Thank you.
I wonder too if that's because I don't know. I think probably we're getting to the point where this isn't even a concern anymore, but you got to think about when the shootout was first implemented. We're probably getting to the point where players in the NHL have been playing the entire time they've been playing hockey. The shootout has been a thing, So I almost wonder if there's like an extra training to it versus like, and again, Patrick Marleau, for example, he's was well into the league by the time the shootout came in, but still that's not something that like he grew up practicing, I don't imagine.
Yeah.
So because it's an extra layer of practice, maybe it's like, oh, let me perfect these 14 different, dipsy doodle moves and see what can happen.
So then what happens after all these kids get all brilliant and genius with the shootout? Do they just go back to like rock, paper, scissors?
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, see? I'm not. I'm the goalie and a shooter from the other team. Rock, paper, scissors, 3 rounds. Whoever gets it, no.
And if they can't solve it after 3, thumb war between the coaches.
Yeah. Oh, I like this.
See?
Okay, I'm in.
So over these 2 games, the Sharks were outshot 70-57, better than last week versus Colorado, where they were outshot 80-51. Now, here's an interesting bit of news that dropped earlier today. Radim Šimik and Adam Henrique had themselves a little tussle during the second period. Both went off for roughing. Somehow, NHL player safety came out earlier today saying that Šimik is going to pay $5,000 for spearing. I went back and looked at their melee. I didn't see it. Kevin Kurz, he tweeted about it. He didn't see it. But I guess, George, is it still LaRock running shit at player safety?
No, George Peros.
I'm sorry. Yeah, LaRock. Excuse me. Got my Georges mixed up. Yeah, Peros. But of course,
Foreman.
Peros, last time I looked, former Duck, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Among other things.
Yeah. So, and this happened against the Ducks. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just pointing out a coincidence, okay? Just saying. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the GIF that Tealtown USA on Twitter posted of this dust up, and you can kind of see a spearing motion, but it doesn't look like he even hit him with it. It looks like he missed.
Exactly.
So is there a GoFundMe for this, or is the kid got it covered and we don't have to worry about it? That's bottom line.
Well, as
He signed a new deal. I think he'll be.
I was
going to
say,
Okay.
As
All right.
as AJ was first to point out, over the COVID shutdown, Mr. Šimik signed himself an extension, so I think he's got it covered.
I think he good.
I'm just saying, $500K up front. You just okay? How much? Let me write the check.
All right.
Well, let's get into the standings here. Sharks currently 7th of 8 in the West. It's the West, yeah, the Honda West. All right. Tied with Anaheim with a -9 goal differential, sitting 28th in the NHL, even though Vancouver has driven off a cliff here in the last week. The goal differential that they have right now, only better than Vancouver, Ottawa, and Detroit, who have a combined 11-26-3 record. Yikes. But then again, hey, Detroit handed Florida their first regulation loss earlier today, so stranger things have happened. How the hell does that happen? All right. Look, we're 10 games in. Let's talk about where we think this team ends up. I mean, right now, tied with Anaheim for worst goal differential. The only team worse in their division is the Kings, who, oh, by the way, they play twice this week. They're 24th in goals for, 23rd in goals against. If over the next 10, the Sharks don't go at least 500, is it time to start buying some fire sale signs at this point or no?
No. And I'll tell you why after Drick explains his reasoning.
It's
Jerk's
so
headed to Home Depot.
no, a lot of the experts, and us included, we've all kind of said it's a shortened season. If you don't get it together early, you're going to
Did you
miss
just
your
refer
shot.
to us as experts?
Well,
Did you see my face when he said that?
I mean, we are the voice of the uninformed fan.
That's true.
Fair. That's fair.
I just think, yes, it's a shortened season. Yes, you theoretically have less time to get it on track. But you know what? That's the thing about doing division-only play is every game has playoff implications. Even the first game of the season has playoff implications. So let's just say for fun, Colorado or Vegas, they're both those teams I would say are wagons in this West Division. Let's just say one of them goes on a 6-game losing streak and all 6 of those games are against teams below them in the division. All of a sudden they're fumbling down the standings. And, so it's a shorter season, as I said, and there's less time to make up ground. But at the same time, by playing every team in your division or only teams in your division, I feel like it would be a lot easier to make up ground as well.
Rock, you had a point you wanted to make after that?
Okay, so here's my plan. So at first, when we came into this season, I was really kind of clenched up about it and very anxious and very nervous. And then I realized this season doesn't matter. So we have 50 some odd games of preseason leading up to the 21-22 season. So this is all just observation of how these young kids work in a squad and what kind of lessons they're going to learn along the way. Nothing about what happens this season actually matters. This is all just a preview for next year. And next year is going to be fabulous.
I know what now it feels like to be a Mets fan. Next year.
Maybe a Bills fan. Maybe.
Well, look, it can't help that over the next 10 games, 7 are against the aforementioned Vegas and Colorado teams, along with St. Louis. One of the games is against the Ducks, a team that just took you to the shootout in consecutive games. By the time you get to a stretch to grab points, like 7 straight against LA and Anaheim, that's in early April, and it could already be over by then. Not really matter.
Well, so check it out. Let me spit some game for you here. So so you scroll through, and obviously, like, these games are not canceled. They're postponed. They're going to be made up eventually. But Arizona and Minnesota...
The NHL doesn't believe in cancel culture. Go ahead.
Right. The Arizona and Minnesota, they're, at least to start this week, they're on the shelf because of postponement. So let's just say, for argument's sake, if San Jose can beat LA in both of those games that they play Tuesday and Thursday of this coming week, then all of a sudden, San Jose is up in that 4 spot. So, as I said, Minnesota and Arizona, they're going to make up those missed games, but, being 7th out of 8th, it looks bad, but it's, as I said before, the Sharks are 2 wins, maybe 3 wins away from being in a playoff spot. So I think, even if you're in the basement, you're not out of it yet.
Oh boy.
That's my optimism hat.
I think they should have played this entire season in a 3-on-3 format.
I just think all 56 games should have been against Anaheim and LA.
Just the Battle of California for the entire year.
Just do like micro divisions. Like
I like that so much, actually. I do.
Well, look, you got 2 against LA, then you got the opener. That was the whole rejiggering of the schedule because of postponements. But 2 against LA, then Vegas, then Anaheim. Then
Huge.
2, yeah, I was going to say, then 2 against St. Louis, then VGK, then St. Louis again, then 2 against Colorado, then VGK, St. Louis. This, by the time you hit that halfway mark, you have 4 games. I'm sorry. Let me take a look at this reworked schedule. I'm sorry. 6 games versus VGK. Ooh, who you've already said is a wagon. Again, a couple against Colorado. I'm telling you, if they don't go 500, I don't know. I think it might be time to start doing something. Even if it's a case of, hey, okay, so you know what? Maybe we start taking a look at a couple guys up here. Well, give a little more time to, or I should say a little more responsibility, maybe to a Gambrell, a Gregor. Maybe you call up Leonard after he's marinated for a few games with the Barracuda. I start seeing what you got, I guess, a little bit more. But right now, even if they were to sneak in to the 4 spot, because we all seem to be in agreement that the wagons that are Vegas, St. Louis, and Colorado are going to make up the top 3 in the division. If they slot in, I just cannot see them getting out of the first round, because you're going to face one of those teams, and I don't think that the Sharks right now just can pull that out. But
well, we remember what happened last time the Sharks met Vegas and Colorado in the playoffs. So
both going to 7 games, if I recall correctly, both having some controversy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No. No.
Sensitivity, heightened emotions. It was fine.
You know what? What's funny is like
What had happened was
I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but you made me do it. So like there was that Colorado series, no controversy whatsoever. Like
the Landeskog skate. I
yeah,
mean, dude,
like,
they switched the rule this year because of that.
No, I know, but okay, it should have been a rule or not been a rule well before. But like there are Avalanche fans who are still bent about that. And literally the night it happened, Landeskog is like, oh yeah, maybe I should have been faster. Like he literally stopped caring the minute it happened.
Well, yeah, he owned it. But dude, there are literally Vegas fans that are still going, we got jobbed.
Dude, I went to a Golden Knights game last season. They booed the frickin' referee that called the major.
They're gonna be they're gonna be so salty.
I mean,
they're gonna be
know
like
what?
the
I
Dead
give them
Sea of fan bases.
Yeah, like you know what? Hey, full marks for coming up with like an identity or like an inside joke for your fan base. Like I'm all about it. I'm all about it. But I mean, find another hill to die on.
Well, I mean, they can't really raise any banners. Nashville's got that covered.
Man, the amount of work that those banner makers have to put in. Anyway, let's get into a few more stats here. Look, the last 7 games have been putrid for the power play. 1 for 27. That's 4% if you're counting, people. Now, the PK, scotch better. 24 for 27. 89%, not bad. During that stretch, basically 500 hockey, 3-3-1. I don't get it. Look, last week, the power play was 18th. It dropped to 20th. Last week, the PK was 8th. It went up to 4th. So, I don't know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Look, this power play has not scored a goal since Remenda had hair, is what I'm trying to say. It's been a hot minute. They need to fix this.
How many drums have you broken?
Oh, it's been a lot. In fact, we might have a background change in the short time. Now, here's the numbers that'll really bake your noodle. Look, Martin Jones right now, 387 goals against with an 876 save percentage. You think that's bad? Over the last 3 starts for Jones, 842. And that includes getting pulled against Colorado. Chief has faced 85 shots on goal over those 3 games. Bizarrely enough, the Sharks went 2-1. Now, Dubnyk, on the other hand, 291 right now for the season with a 917. But over his last 3 starts, a 939 save percentage, facing 98 shots on goal, and the Sharks haven't won. Those are 0-2-1, man. Come on, they can't win in regulation, and Dubnyk's putting up 939. Are you kidding me?
You know what? I said it. I said it last week. I'm pretty sure I said it 2 weeks ago. I'm going to say it again. Devin Dubnyk is the best goalie to have not won a game this season. I mean,
that's got to be a pretty small pool of people we're talking about. I mean, they can fit in a hot tub.
I'm just saying, like, I see some hooligans on Twitter who's like, this is why we shouldn't have brought in Dubnyk. He can't even win a game. And it's like, are you
That wasn't his fault.
It's like, are you watching the same game I'm watching? Because, like, Chief is, if Chief wasn't in net, the Sharks are losing that game probably by a higher margin. Like, it's not for a lack of trying, I'll tell you that.
Dude, you're right. I mean, the funny thing, too, is that the Sharks, over 10 games, what's their record? 4-5-1. Last year, after 10 games, their record, 4-5-1.
Yeah, but I don't think they had one regulation win.
You're right. Not one win in regulation. Unbelievable. But we'll see how the room handles it. I don't know if you guys have been watching the bench much when they, when on the rare times that cameras will actually pan it. It feels to me like I'm already seeing a little bit of splintering. There's a couple of guys that are kind of just, when they're down 2 goals, they're just kind of, look at this. Man, this is a nice arena they got here. There's some interesting scaffolding work. Like they don't feel engaged. I don't know.
Maybe
56 game preseason.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, even in like, years where it's going to be bad. You still have hopes and expectations, right? But kind of like what Rocket was saying earlier, where it's like this year, I feel like if the Sharks, like if they bottomed out again this year, I mean, it would suck, but I kind of feel like I would just be like, well, it was a weird year, circumstances, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's before we get into trends here, let's hit a couple comments from our buddy Chris, pointing out both fan bases are still not over the Game 7 versus Vegas. It's not wrong.
True.
We booed Brian Campbell for how many years? I feel like that only lasted like 2 years, but I might be wrong. I felt like that only lasted for a few games, but anyway. But finally, look, bad teams find ways to lose, and that's essentially, if I'm reading that correctly, I think that's Chris calling the Sharks a bad team right now, and I can't say that I disagree. Let's get into who's hot and who's not, and right now on the hot list, oh, your boy, Ryan Donato, 5 points over the last 5 games. He's even on the plus-minus and does nothing but score in shootouts. Good Lord.
Imagine shootout goals counted for real goals.
This kid, this is going to be one of those pickups where you're like, where did the Sharks mine this guy from? You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what?
I think you could argue he's over 10 games. He's been the most consistent player.
Oh, dude, I'll do you one better. He's been the best player this year.
Now that's what I call fucking yikes.
Please at me.
Also on the hot list, Logan Couture, 4 points in his last 5 games, spurred the comeback versus the Ducks in the first game and got the only goal for them in the second. Evander Kane trending in the right direction finally, getting 2 points in Game 1 versus the Ducks after posting only 2 points in his previous 7 games. He now has 4 in his last 5 and only 1 penalty in the last 3 games, which I think is huge.
I want to interject here.
Yeah, whip it out.
And it's not I wouldn't say it's a criticism or a trend. I think it's just an observation. So you have Evander Kane on your hot list, and I agree with you. He should be there because he's, as you said, he's cooled it with the slashing penalties, and he's getting in on the score sheet. But I was totally ready to throw him on the not list just because of a couple things I saw in the second game against the Anaheim Ducks last night. If you're listening live with us, there were 2 instances where, and I think Randy Hahn mentioned it, where it was like he was really slow to get off the ice. And I think one of them in the third period, and one of them I think was almost a too many men penalty. One of them led to an odd man rush for the Ducks. And then also, again, Brett, how many times have you heard Brett Hedican say communication is free? And, Kane high sticks a puck towards LeBanc, and LeBanc is looking right at Kane do that. It's on Kane to communicate, which is free, as Brett Hedican said, and say, to LeBanc, don't touch it. Let it go. And I don't know. Again, it's not even really a complaint. It's just something I noticed. It's like if the Sharks want to actually have a chance at fighting for that 4th spot, I mean, as much as goals and wins are nice, like if you're not doing the small things well, you're not going to do anything well. And I think especially Kane up until the last 2 games, and then even Hurdle as well, the word I use to describe it all is clunky. It just seems very clunky, where it's like, okay, this is just, here we go. Somebody put a rock through your car windshield. So it's like you just put up some, like a trash bag, and that's what you're rolling with.
Clunky. Yep. I believe that was also like the marketing promo for the 1979 Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah,
it's clunky, but it would get you there.
It's clunky yet funky.
Also on the hot list, Dylan Gambrell, who we actually spoke to earlier in this week, so go check that out on our channel. Nice little plug there. Dude is winning crucial faceoffs. Dude's winning a lot of faceoffs, and Chief is seeing his ice time increase because of that. So keep it up, Dilly, our new Dilly. Rocket is saying there can only be one.
No, there will only be one. Yeah.
You know what though? He just does everything right. Like he's one of those guys where it's like, hey, we need you to do these things better, and he's like, okay, and has done all of those things better. Better at winning faceoffs, better skating. It seems he's more willing to get physical. So he's, I think he should be at the top of the hot list. He's the hottest hot, if you will.
He's plasma.
I might disagree with you, good sir.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with you, but I'm going to touch on something here for a second. Gambrell, though, if you think about it, didn't get in for the first 3 games, right? Or the first 2, right? Was it what?
Sure.
Shellman on the
first three,
because you had Shellman. Who came in on the second one?
Hendemark.
Yeah. Oh man, boy, did that. So anyway, for Gambrell to not have a good camp, miss the first 3, and then play like he's been playing, yeah, that's good. But if you're saying Gambrell's the hottest, I'm going to politely disagree with you and say a Super Mario might be the very hottest. Chiefs' time on ice has increased to over 25 minutes in the last 2 games. +1 in his last 5 games, leads the team in hits over the last 3 games. So Chief is throwing the body while making a difference out there.
He skates so well, too.
Dude, he's my Deadpool. He's like, let's get out there and make a difference.
Rocket Backhander's new favorite player, perchance?
Just
he has
based
been
on
for
hair.
quite some time. He has been for hair and personality. Actually, his laugh is hysterical because it's just this long wheeze.
He's just like, I feel like he's just one of the, like, especially if you view his YouTube channel, like he's just one of those guys where it's like it's so hard to root against him because he'll make a 7-minute YouTube video where it's like, oh, like, look at this, I got a smart plug for my Alexa and now I can dispense granola bars with my voice, like it'll be just something so, teeny like that. And he just gets so pumped up and it's hard to not be a fan.
I think that kid is definitely going to see a letter on his jersey at some point in his career. I don't know that it should be a C, because the dude is almost too happy. Like, I almost feel like if sometimes somebody does need to be called out. You've seen that video of Pavelski during the stadium series and everything, where he's just go, soft shit doesn't get it done, and I feel like Ferraro doesn't have that in him. He'd be like, come on guys, you can do it. Like, I think he could probably be, but I don't know. We're not in the room, we don't know, but he just has that always positive, always up, just infectious energy. And I don't know that would play with everybody in a room. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's some guys that might be a little like, okay, Mickey Mouse, dial it down for a hot minute.
Yeah,
No,
you're right.
I don't think so. I think he's smart enough to know when to read the room.
All right.
He reminds, if you've seen the Lego movie, he reminds me of Good Cop, where he's just super cheery all the time. Hey, what can I get for you?
Oh my God.
You guys are so mean. No, I think he'd be a really good, he'd be that kind of person to where if he did have to go ham on your ass, you would know how serious it was, because that's not his natural inclination. And it would be like, he wouldn't even have to go 100% hard into you, and you'd be like, oh, I will never do this again, because you never want to see him upset, because it'll just break your heart.
Hold on. I want to know what 21 Pucks is getting at. He's asking me, are you sure about that? He gave it to me in COD, in COD.
Call of Duty.
What is that?
Call
of Duty.
Okay, I guess I'm showing my age with that, or just the fact that I could give a shit about video games. So, all right, my bad.
He would,
like fish.
Ferraro, he would take the latest iPad out of his hockey bag and he'd be like, here, let me show you what you're doing here. He would like just he'd break it down for you. He'd be like, oh, you know what? I just went to Best Buy. I picked up this portable projector. Here, let me show you what we're looking for here. And he'd just put it right on the whiteboard. And
Dude, I think an HD 1024 PD. Yeah, he'll be able to see everything.
If he's not like a coach following his career,
video coach,
yeah,
best hockey ever.
Dude, if he's not some sort of a coach when his career is completed, he definitely needs to be whoever the next John Root is. Just bouncing around the tank. How you doing, everybody?
Oh no, I think video coach 100%.
All right, finally, let's get over the hot list here. Of course, to round it out, Devin Dubnyk, like I said, 939 over his last 3, seeing far more rubber than Jones, and yet still can't find a win. And we kind of mentioned time on ice a second ago, so let's at least take a look at that and how that's working. Look, you can see Dylan, man. He is being thrown some responsibility, and he is responding. Same thing with Ferraro. Look at those ice time increases. Conversely, Hurdle, where'd you go? Where'd you go, my brother? Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Yikes. Just saying.
Darylon spitting hot fire.
I'm saying it. So that was the hot list. Let's get into the who's not.
Wait, sorry.
Go ahead.
One last hot. Nikolai Knyzhov.
Who?
Okay.
It just real. He's just, we said it last week. He's not like, you haven't heard anything about him, which is good. Like he skates well, he moves the puck well, he hits. He just, for being a rookie defenseman, he does everything right. And I'm not going to say that he's this year's Ferraro, but I love what I've seen.
Nice. And again, a guy who was allowed some time to marinate a little bit before being brought up, not too early, not Mirko Mueller, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not hot. Marc-Edouard Vlasic, brother. Your face about to be on the side of milk cartons in the Bay Area. Dude, you dropped to the bottom pair in game 2. Your ice time is just plummeting, circling the drain. What happened to you, my man? I miss the old MEV. What? I don't understand what's going on with this guy. What, Jerk, what are you seeing with this?
It's just the complete opposite of Ferraro and Knyzhov, where there's no urgency. There's just no urgency in breaking the puck out. I feel like all of the Sharks defensemen are really good about taking the body, but there's just not, especially with Ferraro and then Knyzhov as well, and even Burns, who I think deserves to be on the hot list as well. It's just, they're taking the body as a way to maybe pop a puck loose or to kind of turn things around. And I just feel like Vlasic, everything has just been really just slow and kind of, out of control the last couple games. It doesn't feel very crisp or smooth at all.
I made a mistake. I do have Burns on the hot list. I forgot that one. Leads the team in time on ice, 3 points in his last 5, 2-point night versus the Ducks in game 1. So
well, and I believe Drew Remenda said too that this is since he's gone. Yeah, that guy. I believe he said that since he's gone back to defense, this is the best he's ever looked at playing defense. Wow. I believe he said that on Brody Brazil's YouTube. So that's obviously, that's something the Sharks need. Like Burns is all about the points. He loves the points, but if you're going to be out there for 25 minutes a night, you are relied on for other things as well.
Hell yeah. But also not hot. You're talking about, the big names on the defense. EK65, dude, do something.
Can I want to make a declaration right here, right now.
Okay.
Please.
We're going to get into EK65 in a second. We're going to talk about some numbers,
I'll
but
wait.
go ahead.
Oh, no. I'll wait. Throw it to Rocket.
What do you got?
I got nothing.
Okay. Last one on the not list, Tomas Hertl. 1 point in the last 7, 3 shots on goal in over 4 of the last 5 games. To put that into perspective, Timo Meier has 15 shots on goal in the last 5 games.
Timo Meier's not a new dad.
Timo Meier's on my not list right now.
Yeah.
And it's not for anything new, but dude, I said it last week where it's like, I get it, like shots on goal are great, but like he's taking all of his shots from behind the faceoff dot. It's like, dude, what do you expect to happen? It's like, it's just, I saw it at least 2 or 3 times in the second game against Anaheim where it's like, okay, Meier brings it in and I'm like, all right, let's set it up. What are we going to do here? Throw it on net, save, commercial. I'm like, well, that was a waste of my time. It's like,
I don't know.
It's like, you're a big body, power to the net.
Well, dude.
But if that's his job, is to throw it to the net, save, commercial, isn't that just part of his job within the NHL? Is to give them an opportunity to get to commercial?
I was going to say maybe the NHL is like, hey, look, we really need you to help us make some sponsor money back.
Precisely.
So if you could just throw it on the net before every commercial break.
I want to know what's going on with Hertl. I love this kid. I've got jerseys with this. It's probably my favorite Shark, but he just. I don't know what is going on with him. I don't know if he's just gripping the stick too tight. I don't see him crashing the net like I used to. And he's even been moved to the wing now because Boughner has gotten to the point where he's like, kid, what happened? Where's the kid? Who did we see in game 1 versus Arizona? 2 goals and assist. What happened to that guy?
He became a dad.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm wondering if it's the Erik Karlsson treatment that we saw last year, where it's just. And again, I don't think it's like 24/7. Oh, how's my baby? But it's like you've got other things on the back of your mind, and I maybe it's just hard to get psyched up. Especially, we talked about it last week. They were outside of San Jose for 35 days. I mean, none of us here have kids, but I imagine
that we know of.
Yes, but I imagine.
Right?
Being away from your newborn for 35 days, I don't know that that's the easiest thing to deal with.
I couldn't be away from my plants for a month. They'd die.
I'm hoping Hurdle flips this rather quickly because you talk about needing your best players to be your best players. I mean, how many times have we seen Hurdle just be an absolute beast when needed? And right now, shrinking violet. But let's get into, kind of a segment I'm referring to is, hey, how's your Pavelski? So let's get to this weekly comparison just to say, after 11 games for Colorado, Jonas Donskoi is tied for second in goals on the team with 5, including 2 openers, 1 on the power play, tying goal versus San Jose, game winner. Boom, high-value goals. Kid's got 8 points plus 4, average time on ice 13 minutes. I mean, that's quite Good job, Jonas. Every time I hear Donskoi's name, all I can hear is that from that commercial with the leaf blower, Jonas. But Joe freaking Pavelski, 8 games played, 15 points, plus 7, 5 of 7 coming on the man advantage, as did 9 of his 15 points, 5 goals, 2 were game winners, 1 was an opener. Posted a point in 7 of 8 games played, including 2 4-point games with an average time on ice of 20 minutes. Boy, that age is really showing, huh? Glad we fucking got rid of him. Conversely, over 10 games, EK65 has 3 assists. 2 of 3 coming in losses, leads the team, or I should say is actually tied on the team right now with a -6. Average time on ice, just under 27 minutes. Hasn't had a point in 4 games. Now, I bring this up again, because there was a lot of back and forth on social media about EK65 earlier this week, which is pretty impressive because the dude hadn't played a game all week. But it was because Pavelski was tearing it up so much while EK is not producing. Jerk, since when did age become a factor before production? I mean, it's like with the tear that Pavs is on, I'm seeing a lot of debate, and it's, you always sign the younger guy long term rather than the older guy short term. Don't you sign the guy that, like, I don't know, puts up points consistently?
Yeah. And I mean, you do. And prior to this year, Erik Karlsson was that guy. I mean, that's undeniable. Say what you want. Putting up points. Look at Hockey DB right now.
Well, last year?
Bro.
40 and 56, right? 40...
That's pretty good for a defenseman, no?
No, decent. Is it worth $11.5 million?
Decent, my ass.
Okay, let's get into this. Keep going. I got some numbers for you. Keep going.
You didn't even let me finish because I was about to make you. So all last year I said, you know what? I'm not gonna turn on Erik Karlsson until we're seeing consistency year to year. And guys, I think I'm ready to buy a bus pass.
Wow.
For the. Yeah, and it's not anything. It's not anything personal. I'm not going to be one of these people who talks crap about because he likes cars or he has long hair or any of that. I'm not going to be. There's people.
Nothing wrong.
No,
with
I know. But what I'm saying is there are people who just point out the things about him as a person, and it's like that's not what we do here. But it's I mean, it's the same thing on right, but just. And I kind of was starting to notice a little bit last week. Brett Hedican has been hammering it home the last 2 games where it's like, Erik Karlsson's when he was in Ottawa, put up a lot of goals, put up a lot of shots on goal, And since he's come to the Sharks, that's like the one thing that he refuses to do.
Yeah.
And Brett Hedican even said it at least 2 or 3 times that I heard in the second game against Anaheim, where it's like, he basically said, and, Erik Karlsson once again got a clear lane to the net, not taking the shot. And I'm like, dude, even if it's not going to go in, get it on net. Maybe it bounces a certain way. Maybe somebody taps it home. Maybe the goalie doesn't see it. I don't know. But just take a shot. As good of a shot as Erik Karlsson does have, he's not using it. His skating, he just looks like, I don't even know. It looks like somebody took a 2x4, put it against his back, and then tied it around his back. Like he almost looks like he's just like a scarecrow when he skates. And it's just like, how many years have people been saying, oh, he's one of the best skaters in the league? And he was, but it's just like, dude, you got that scarecrow from Wizard of Oz thing going on. And it's like, the breakout passes aren't crisp. And I get it. Like, part of it is because his breakout passes are so good that the Sharks forwards can't pick them up on the go. But I think as a professional, you have to say, okay, when I freaking whip a missile across the rink to these guys and they can't catch it, maybe I got to dial it back a little bit. And we're not seeing that.
I was going to say, that's something that we've seen since he started here. It's just,
dude.
Throwing lasers across the ice and people going, hey, dude, take a little smoke off of it, man.
That's what I'm saying. I can picture a handful of times where he's on that right point, and say you have, I don't know, Couture over on the left boards, and he fires it over there, and it's like boom, off the boards and back into the middle of the ice, and it's like that's nowhere near Couture. I mean, like I said, if your guys can get the puck, by all means whip it across to them, but at the same time you got to read the terrain, and adjust on the fly. And it's just the things that he was really good at, he's just hasn't been playing that way this year. And I'm still hoping that he kind of gets his head on straight and can get it under control. But like you said, 10 games in, I mean, we're a fifth of the way through the season at this point.
Oh my God.
Just about.
I'm so happy you brought that up. Okay. In 56 games played last season, Erik Karlsson posted 40 points. Last season, there was the whole thing with the birth of his daughter. There was the groin surgery to go through. With 3 points in 10 games so far this season, he is on pace right now, 17 points over 56 games. That would equal 25 points in a regular season. Dude, EK scored 26 his rookie year in 60 games. 3 seasons ago, Justin Braun potted 33 points. Vlasic had 32. These are not the names that you think of when it comes to blue line offense. Paul Martin had 26 points in his final season with the Sharks, for Christ's sakes. Now, Karlsson has a rep for some bizarre reason. He's got a rep for being a slow starter. Is that an excuse when you've had 10 months off and it's a compacted schedule? You have to be ready to go by day one. There is none of this, I have a brand new baby. No, you've had 10 months. And now he's currently 10th on the team in scoring.
And that's why, last year, I didn't want to get on the bus, because it's like, okay, he's recovering from surgery. He's got the kid. He's got these are all legitimate reasons for there to be struggling. I'm not gonna poke at a guy because he's got a human life issues going on. The reason why I'm getting my bus pass out this year is because, like you said, AJ, there's no excuse. He's had, as by all accounts, and again, none of us are related to him that we know of, so we wouldn't know this, but by all accounts, the family life is good, the health is good, everything's good. So I'm not really sure what the deal is. Now, like I said, I'm hoping that once the Sharks get back at home, it's just like, oh, okay, you're becoming a hater, watch this. But it just doesn't look good so far. And, you guys know that, I've been very hesitant to take this position, but, here we are.
And you all know I've been here since day one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe you wrote the book on this position.
Dude, 25 points in a regular set, 17 points. Oh. If Chief does not crack 20 points this season, how does he not get raked? See, that's the one thing. Could you imagine if he was doing this in Toronto? He'd be getting destroyed by the media on the regular.
Yeah, well, people in Toronto actually care about where the money goes in hockey.
Any market in Canada, he would be getting toward a new one. Boston, New York, he would be getting it. He'd be getting raked over the coals. Doug Wilson would be getting raked over the coals for signing this deal.
So, do you think that Erik Karlsson is a cautionary tale about talent, raw talent, and not enough actual fundamental discipline, good habits? Because just from what everyone has talked about in the last 20 minutes or so, sounds like this guy's been amazingly talented, fantastic, just brilliant genius guy. And then he had a little bit of injury, not a big deal, but then he had a little bit of life tossed in there too. And all of a sudden, the fundamentals, the hard work, the practice, the boring crap that you do every single day to get used to, elevating your status, he's not good at that because he's just so talented. He's just naturally just freaking dripping with talent. So he doesn't maybe have the same level of discipline in like the small areas that other guys do. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe he missed out on an opportunity to go play overseas with another team for a month or so to get back into competitive shape because he wanted to be at home with his family or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's a good point. Like, I think, especially as far as I know,
I don't know.
He during the shutdown, I think he may have been back in Ottawa at that time, and obviously
I believe that's
Canada
pronounced Ottawa, but go ahead.
and I obviously Canada's COVID restrictions were obviously much stricter than in the U.S. And again, I hate to even sound like I'm making excuses again, but is it really just a situation where it's like, yes, he had 10 months off, but he never got to skate in those 10 months? I mean, is that really what it just boils down to? I don't know.
Could be.
Well, like a tiger, coaching style doesn't work for his game type, or that EK65 can't adjust. Well,
two things can be true.
Two things can be true, but
for being the highest paid defenseman in the league, you should know how to adjust, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need to know how to adjust, but when you're the highest paid player on the team, maybe you're sitting there going, no, y'all need to work around me. I don't have to change shit.
I mean,
I
don't. I mean, that's like, I'd be fine with that too, honestly. Like,
I mean,
I'm
not a fan of big ego guys, dude. These divas.
No.
Not
apparently.
Not like that. Nothing like big ego, but just like, I think the coaches need to look and say, okay, Erik Karlsson, he's dynamic. We want the offense and everything to run through him. We need to get our guys in a position to where they can be the beneficiaries of what he's doing.
Yeah, let's run the offense through a guy who won't shoot.
Yeah, no kidding.
But Jerry making the solid point that I've been making for a while. If Erik Karlsson continues the same trajectory, what choice do the Sharks have, man? What can they do? And that's the whole thing.
56 game preseason. That's what I'm saying right there.
But they can't do anything. They're hosed. They can't expose him to Seattle because of his contract. Who's going to take on the most expensive? Like, who? What team is going to say, oh, how much is he get? 11.5 per year, and he's not producing? Sure, give me some of that.
The Devils.
I mean,
no.
That is a healthy buyout as well. A healthy buyout.
Dude,
yeah.
You'd be paying that guy for 20 years.
I was gonna say I'm
not.
I'm not one of those people. I think the buyout should be a last resort. But let's just say, because I know a lot of people are getting there.
Dude,
if the Sharks were to buy out Erik Karlsson, let's just say for fun, they would be on the hook for that until 2033.
and they'll still be playing at SAP Center.
Maybe.
I'll be
And
eligible
if your
to join
hands
the
are-
AARP by then.
And if you're wondering, will the Pucknologists podcast still be on at that time? Yes, we will.
Sure. It might only be the Jerk Show at that point because Rocket and I will have aged out. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, let's see, what is it? I'll be coasting very nicely into my late 30s, and it'll be great.
Hey.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run the show at 5 o'clock or earlier because I go to bed a lot
Yeah,
earlier.
Yeah, you know what? It'll be
So
me,
dinner time,
Puck.
then,
Yeah,
It'll
it'll
be a
be
morning
me.
show.
It'll be me, Puck guy, and somebody who's in 5th grade right now.
All right. So I think, look, I'm sorry for those that say, oh, you're just an EK.
Don't apologize.
65 hater or whatever. Yeah, I fucking hate guys who make a
okay.
ton of money that don't produce.
You're okay. Yes, you're right. Okay, but let's roll back the clock and at haters. How much of what you said is not based on fact?
0.
There you go.
Okay,
That's all you
then.
need to say. If anybody says no, that's all you have to say. Until you start slinging crap because of who he is as a person or made up things that the mysterious they come up with, then you've got nothing to trip on.
Many people are saying. See, now here's the thing, though. Deion Sanders was known as a diva in football. Probably the best cornerback, one of the best defensive players to ever play that game. He was a massive diva. And you know what? Fucking guy showed up every time it counted. That guy put up numbers. There was no downtime for Deion. He showed up. And you can be a diva when you show up every time. And you're the big money guy and you're making play after play after play. You're making the difference day in and day out. When you 17 points at 56 games.
So what you're saying is be like Dion, don't be a TL.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm telling you. All right. I'm afraid once again we've gone long. Please notify our affiliates. If you were unaware, the Sharks have announced some schedule changes after last week saw both games against Vegas be postponed. Again, we just share the information with you people, so again, for the uninformed, for the informed, whatever it is. But here you go. The games have been moved. Game on Monday, or I should say last Monday, now scheduled to be the opener on February 13th at SAP. Remember, that is a matinee game, so don't take that late nap or early afternoon food coma. Don't let that impact you. That's a matinee one. February 3rd has been moved to February 25th, and then the previously scheduled February 13th against Anaheim has been moved to April 6th, and the February 26th game versus St. Louis has been moved to March 8th. What does this mean for Patrick Marleau? It means he's going to break Gordie Howe's record on the same dates as already projected. That's pretty much all it means. But hey, speaking of home openers, hey now, you love to see it. Like seeing that logo. Is it as nice as the 25th logo? No. But it's fine. Image courtesy of our buddy Jonathan Becker. But hey, looks good, looks tight. Can't wait to see it on a TV screen. Just saying. Oh. All right, well, speaking of the Anaheim games, we did see somebody come back to the Sharks, sort of, kind of. Drew Remenda, friend of the show, returned to the Sharks broadcast, joining Brody and Curtis. This was announced last Thursday with Tom Tolbert on KNBR, and Drew said he's doing 6 games so far, pre, post, and intermission, live from Saskatoon. Obviously, the first 2 against the Ducks already in the bag. Next appearances will be February 18th versus the Blues, the 25th versus the Knights, the 1st of March versus the Avs, and the 5th of March back against the Knights. So, Drew Remenda. Thoughts on Drew so far over the weekend? Because now here's the fun thing. I'm going to like to hear both of your takes on this because Rocket became a Sharks fan after Remenda was gone, whereas Jerk, learned the game, sort of, from Drew Remenda. Grew up on the game, if you will. So
It's a fair way to put it.
Yeah, so after 2 games, I want to go to Jerk first because you know what it's like.
Yeah, I think it's been nice to hear, his take on everything again. As you said, I grew up listening to Drew Remenda. Like, Drew Remenda was a fixture of my childhood Sharks game viewings. You know what I mean? He was a recognizable voice. And still is. I think the way that he says things, I think he says it in a very educated way, so it's like, wow, this guy really knows what's up. But he also says it in a way where it's like, okay, I don't know what he's talking about, but I understand what he means. And and I think it's been a welcome addition to the pre and post game broadcast. And I said it last week. You know what? You couldn't pay me to watch pre and post game just because it's not something that interests me. But getting Drew Remenda there, my ass was in the seat a half hour early to watch and hear what he had to say.
Chief puts butts in the seats, man.
Yeah. Now that said, I'm not going to be one of those people where it's like I devote my entire adult life to his legacy as a Sharks coach and broadcaster.
Okay, what are you trying to intimate?
But no, I'm not going to fall over my seat if like that's the only 2 games we get. I'm not going to be upset or anything like that. But no, I just think he's a good. There are worse people to have around.
I'm not saying it. I'm not doing it. Go ahead, Rock.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Tony D'Angelo or anything. He's all right. Sorry. Okay, so this was my first real exposure to Drew Remenda in his element, as everybody else knows him to be. I felt very strongly that he definitely has a really good insight as a broadcaster or like as an analyst that I think the other guys maybe lack. The guys who are players have the experience necessary to do the job, but they are not as succinct or as I don't know, like they can watch the same thing that Drew does and not see what he sees. So I guess in that regard, his vision is very unique. And yeah, he does tend to be like Jerk said on the side of, I kind of don't know what he's talking about, but I understand what he's saying. And I think that is great for us as a fan base because it forces us to get smarter. Instead of just being fed homerism after homerism, So I think that even if it causes a little bit more of a critical view towards the team, overall, I think this is better for us as a fan base. And I appreciate having him back.
I think what we're trying to say is, Hasso, get over it.
Yeah.
We like him here. Keep him
it'll
around.
be okay.
Now, of note, I mentioned earlier that the announcement of the appearances came on KMBR with Tom Tolbert. For those of you who don't know, in the Bay Area, that's the one of the local sports stations, and I use that term in not a great way. Look, he's got an afternoon show with Larry Krueger and Rod Brooks. Now, of note, and the reason why I call this out because I laughed my ass off because, again, local sports talk radio ignores the Sharks by and large, with the exception of Tom Tolbert. He's been the one guy who's like consistently talked Sharks over the years. Tom and Drew are appointment radio. But Tom used to kind of ride solo, and now he's been saddled with these two asshats. And Larry Krueger seemed to be amazed, astounded, as if it was a magician's illusion that the Sharks, he goes, oh man, I'm looking at the schedule here. You guys are playing 16 games against LA and Anaheim? It's like, yeah, dumbass, they're playing every team 8 times. Did you just wake up? I mean, look at the schedule before the season begins, pal. It's right here. They have them. You can print them out and pay attention. Ugh. I'm sorry.
Wait, you guys don't use the ball?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had to get that out. It's just, come on. Local sports. God,
you know what though?
Suck.
If local sports media didn't suck,
we wouldn't be here.
I was gonna say this podcast probably wouldn't be a thing. So to everybody who continues to poorly cover the Sharks, I say keep it up.
Good looking out.
Thank you.
Well, look, I've always, everybody knows my take on Drew. I fucking love the guy. He is awesome. Great storyteller. Great, just overall dude. You bump into him in the on the concourse or hell at San Pedro, wherever, and just not a nicer guy you're gonna find. And even when you tell him he sucks, his response is, "Hey, thanks for watching." I mean, just all around cool dude. Now, will this kind of, I don't know what the hell this is. Like, why randomly these 6 games? is this going to lead to more appearances? Could this lead to a return to the broadcast booth once we're beyond COVID and we're all filling the building and everything like that? You know, there are people who enjoy Hetty. I think Hetty is fine. I'm not a huge fan, but I think he's fine. You know, he definitely has his moments. Of course, my all-time favorite being, do you want to get your butt kicked or do you want to be a kick butter? Yeah. So could we see Drew return? I hope so in that capacity. Hetty can slide right back over to the radio with with Dan Ruzanowski, where I actually think Hetty is better served. A lot of people thought Baker was better on radio than TV. You know, it's all subjective, but if you go and look, whether it's Reddit, Twitter, any of the posts, it's 99% pro Drew sentiment, like bring him back. So we'll see if this leads to anything. Remember, this is all on the team owner, guys. He's the one who pulled the trigger. He's the one that decided not to renew the contract. He can change his mind. So
it's just funny because if you ask any Edmonton Oilers fan, like
they fucking hate him.
Drew,
they're like, he's too much of a Sharks fan.
Yeah, Drew couldn't have left sooner. Like
I know, right? We could not have gotten the boot up his ass any quicker. Whatever. All right, we have some final things to say here. Still waiting on announcements, by the way, on whenever the Sharks are going to wear their reverse retro or heritage jerseys. Could it be happening by the end of this week, especially since there will be the very first home game at SAP? I mean, I would think maybe you do the home opener in your heritage. Just saying, just me. A couple other notes here. Oh, by the way, 2 weeks ago, I dropped the news, the exclusive interview we had with Sharks VP Doug Bentz, that Fanatics is no longer running the Sharks store or the kiosks in SAP when it finally does open. So the Sharks mobile shop website that was run in tandem with Fanatics has been shut down. So he gone. Also of note, though, the Sharks are low-key running an equipment sale on sjteamshop.com, including game-worn jerseys, sticks, pads, skates, all the stuff you would see at the annual equipment sale for the most part. They really haven't promoted this, but it's been getting around on social media channels. So the good news, of course, is that now people outside the Bay Area can grab themselves a little cool game-used merch. The bad news is the prices are a cha-ching. If you're familiar with the annual sale, stuff's priced to move. They want to clear stuff out so they can bring in new equipment. Evidently, that is not the case right now. They are selling stuff at market rate. That means the Kevin LeBanc stick that you bought at the annual equipment sale 2 years ago for $60 is now $200. Just to let you know. I saw 2 game-worn Joe Thornton jerseys go for $2,200. So what I'm saying is that if you want a little slice of that Sharks equipment sale, you better bring your black Amex and be prepared. Again, love that you can get it, but whew, these prices are yowza. Around the NHL, speaking of Fanatics, a report came out this week that Fanatics, after doing all they can to ruin sports apparel, is now going to be focusing on the memorabilia market, which, I mean, Jerk, don't they already do that?
Yeah, you can go on the internet, fanatics.authentic.com, and you'll be unsurprised to find that they already have a website for that and have for years.
And that's like they're the legit one. Plus, they already have like shadow site. Oh, and there she goes.
And there she goes.
They already have shadow sites that sell their stuff, if you will. I mean, yowza. Let's see if we can't solve this issue right quick. Yay? Can we do it? Can we do it?
You see, what had happened was...
Oh, I guess not. Well, that's disappointing to say the least, but we roll back. Anyway, I'm sure she'll be back in a hot sec. Anywho, she heard the word Fanatics and she's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. So we'll say, and then we're back! So anyway, look, Fanatics ruined that, though I'm sure they'll ruin this. Speaking of which, though, Activision Blizzard has also mutually agreed to part with Fanatics. 2 breakups in 1 week. That's something to look forward to. Hey, remember that kid, Tim Stutzla?
Stutzla.
Whatever. The Senators picked him up with a pick that they got from San Jose in the EK65 deal. Yeah, he only leads the Senators in goals right now. Tied for second, Chris Tierney, also part of the EK deal. Oh, and Josh Norris, also part of the EK deal, has more points than any other Shark aside from Hurdle, Couture, and Kane. So that all worked out quite well. The NHL looking to increase their rate of COVID-19 rapid testing. Hopefully that happens like really, really rapidly as we keep seeing more and more games getting postponed. The Barracuda opened their season earlier today against the Tucson Road Runners, losing 2-1 in OT. John Leonard picks up the only goal for the Barracuda, unassisted. Cam Dineen would score the OT for Tucson as Ryan Merkley gets caught looking on. And you can find out more about the San Jose Barracuda with our buddy Kevin Lacey in the latest installment of In the Reef. Check out our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button and you'll know all about it. And finally, we get to Jerk's favorite segment.
I've been waiting for this.
Our comment of the week from the Sharks fan Facebook page. Let's
Dial
go.
it up, baby. Dial it up.
Hey, who do we lose to the expansion draft before next season? Do we protect 8 players or 7 forwards and 3D and 1 goalie? Keep in mind, players unwilling to waive no movement clauses count in that number. Couture, Kane, Hurdle, Carlson, Burns, Vlasic, Jones. I know most of the possibilities depend on off-season signings and trades, but I'll go first. LeBanc or Ferraro? Now, when I saw the name Ferraro, Jesus, sentence by sentence to educate the people.
All right, here we go. So number 1, excuse me.
Here we go.
Who do we lose to the expansion draft before next season? Now, AJ talked about not using Facebook as Google, but I think you can look at this question and say, okay, you're with your buddies and you're crowdsourcing. So whatever. Do we protect 8 players or 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goalie? Again, maybe don't use it as Google, but again, you're crowdsourcing, you're with your buddies. Whatever. I got no problem with it. Keep in mind, players unwilling to waive no movement clauses count in that number. That is true. If you have a no-move clause, you're automatically protected unless you are asked and agree to waive your no-move clause. Couture, Kane, Hurdle, Carlson, Burns, Vlasic, Jones. So here's the thing. So Couture, Kane, Hurdle,
Burns
and Jones, they all have modified no-trade clauses. And usually with that, it's, hey, what 3 teams do you want to go to? Or, hey, what 10 teams do you not want to go to? And that's it. Carlson and Vlasic are the only ones who have no move clauses. So Carlson and Vlasic are the only ones who have to be protected. Every those other 5 guys, you can leave them empty or you can leave them exposed. It's totally the Sharks' prerogative there. Most of the possibilities depend on off-season signings and trades. A little bit Captain Obvious, but sure, that's fine. LeBanc or Ferraro? So Ferraro is a second-year professional. So he's not eligible for the expansion draft. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, don't have to protect him.
Yeah, and LeBanc. Now, I know a lot of people don't like LeBanc, but LeBanc just signed a 4-year contract extension. He's the 5th highest paid forward on the team, and he's a good player. So I'm not really sure why you're leaving him exposed. There's also room to protect him. So again, I don't know why you're leaving him exposed. The Sharks are actually kind of in a pretty nice position right now where the players that they want to protect, they can. You know, they're not going to be in a situation where, you know, they get pinched and have to give up a first-round pick so that somebody takes Stefan Nason. You know, that's not going to happen here. And so, you know, this one is not as egregious as last week's, just because I think it was framed as like you're just chatting with your buddies and you want to get the opinion. But as always, folks, if you're gonna say something, make sure you say it correctly.
We're just saying, dude, just a hint of homework. Come on, man.
Just saying.
This is why we need Drew Remenda around.
Right?
I see it now.
I am interested to see, though, the way that this breaks down as the expansion draft gets closer, do we see Doug Wilson offer up? We saw what happened with Vegas. All the little side deals that happened. That was, hey, we'll throw you a pick if you promise to take this guy. Wonder if Doug Wilson tries to pull some shit out of his ass and goes, hey, we'll throw you this if you, I don't know, take Brent Burns? I mean, why would you want to get rid of your most producing defenseman right now?
But maybe that's the play though. Maybe it's like, okay, if he plays really well, teams will look at him favorably and they'll want to trade him instead of us giving him up for nothing.
True that. I like that. Chief has value.
And you know what? I want to interject here again. So I'm looking at the the Sharks forward list right now. So 7 forwards. That's who you're keeping. Couture, Kane, Meyer, Hurdle, LeBanc, Donato. That's 6 right there. So you got one more spot. Balcers, Gambrell. That's your choice. You're okay. That's your last choice. It's not like there's anybody big who you're leaving off the list here.
Yeah, but if you had brought this to me a week ago, I would have been Gambrell, or a week and a half ago. But
basically, if the expansion draft was tomorrow, the Sharks would have to decide if they expose Balcers or Gambrell. And don't get me wrong, I love both of those players, but if you lose one, you'll get over it.
Yeah. So what? Well, and I like the thing where it's like 8 players or 7 forwards, 3D, and a goalie, and it's like, kind of feel like you can go the 8 players route because you can expose both goalies because who cares? No one's taking these guys.
That, you know what? Yeah, that's...
Or the play is to protect Dubnyk because no one's taking Jones.
Well, Dubnyk's a pending unrestricted free agent, so I'd have to...
It was just a 1-year deal? I thought it was a 2-year for some reason.
So that's going to be interesting because I don't know, and again, I'll have to dig into the rule book, but a goalie or a player in general that's a pending UFA, I don't know if they count for your exposure requirements.
Yeah, don't they have to have one more year left on their deal minimum?
I believe so. So it looks like it's going to be Doug Wilson's got to choose between Jones or Josef Koronash. So
wow, real fucking Sophie's choice right there.
Oh.
And we like Koronash, but that's an easy decision.
Dear Lord. All right. Last looks, last call for the chat here as we start to wrap it all up. Again, apologies to our affiliates for running long. Rocket, your kind of last thoughts. I mean, look, a split versus Anaheim. I mean, you take 3 points, you give 3 points. I mean, it wasn't fantastic. It's not what you want, obviously. You got 3 games between now and the next show. 2 versus LA, and then the opener versus Vegas. Just go.
The 2 against LA is going to be the battle of the shit show. I know that just from... It's going to be like a hard race to the bottom, and I really I hope to God it's entertaining. I don't even care about... I mean, 500 would be great, but I also just want it to be entertaining. Yeah, and then we get into Vegas, and that's a whole other cartridge of ammunition. But I think that, like I said, 56 game preseason, we get a real solid look at what the kids are going to look like next year. We strengthen them and we weed out their weaknesses and drive them into non-existence. I think this will be a great learning experience for the young kids. As far as the overpaid prima donnas or what have you on the team, I don't think that they matter nearly as much as we make them out to be. I mean, they matter, but for us as fans, as far as the team goes, I don't think it matters. I think, like I said, 56 game preseason because there are no rules this year and the points don't matter. My name is Rocket Backhander. You can find me hanging out on Twitter. I talk about hockey, hot girl shit, and things about living in Spokanistan. It's capital R, capital B, little Backhander 76. It's Rocket Backhander 76 or our Backhander. You can check me out on Instagram taking pictures of cats and snow days and fun things. Chiefs hockey's starting up out here, so hopefully we'll get some more hockey photos going on shortly. That's Rocket Backhander, one word, Instagram. That's it. AJ?
When did this turn into Whose Line? Points don't matter.
No, the points don't matter. Give 3, take 3. They don't matter.
Ugh. Hockey jerk. I mean, what? 2 against LA. Best case scenario. Obviously, you win all 3. What's reality say to you? What do you think the Sharks are going to do?
I think the Sharks will take both against LA, and then
Go ahead.
lose a very competitive 1-0 game against Vegas. Hey, you know what? I'm just saying. You never know what can happen with this sport that we call hockey. And speaking of hockey, my name, at least what you people know my name as, is hockey_jerk. At least that's what it is on Twitter. And you should go there if you like to laugh and be informed about hockey. For my degenerate gamblers out there, the the color of the Gatorade at the Super Bowl was blue. Check your betting tickets accordingly. Back to you, AJ.
All right. We've updated his Twitter handle.
Why?
Of course, based on his, choice of shirt for the evening.
Sounds like the name of the mascot for the Adult Video Award ceremony.
What's his name again? Oh, Blasty. That's
Blasty. Which, if you ask me, those two they're in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
It might not be on the same block, but definitely in the same zip code.
Okay.
Skeety.
Really quick. I just want to say this is funny. So
really quick left 40 minutes ago. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've gone this far anyway. Okay. So for those who don't know, Mrs. Jerk is not a hockey fan, but I showed her a picture of Jacob Markstrom's retro reverse pads, and she said, "Oh, is that for the Sploogey jersey?" So she gets it.
Dear Lord.
God.
Never underestimate the reach of this podcast.
Hey now, like a Tyga saying Vegas 6, Sharks 2. I look at that and I go, completely possible.
If Jones is in net,
I was going to say
the Sharks will win 6-5. If Dubnyk is in net, they will lose 1-0.
Here's a question.
Why you gotta be like that?
Here's a question. Does Jones get a start over the next 3 games? And I guess the further question is, should he?
I think a smart person would say that Dubnyk probably starts Tuesday against LA, and then Thursday and Saturday, I guess, depends on how Tuesday goes.
Because you also take into account, and I get so tired of this, is, oh, well, Jones used to play for the Kings, and so, you always want to start him versus the bullshit. It makes no difference. I don't care about it. It's been 5 years. Let it go, man. I think at this point, just based on the numbers, look at the last 3. And again, that's the hardest part is you sit there and go, well, Dubnyk is the better goalie, but the Sharks don't win with them. What can you do? Just insane, man. I don't get it. So it was Jones and then Dubnyk versus Anaheim. Yeah, if I'm you, I roll Dubnyk versus on Tuesday, and then I guess you see what happens. If you lose the game, then you go, oh, I guess we're going back to Jones because Dubnyk can't get a regulation win, just can't win. I hate this. I hate it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on the Pucknologists, episode 119. You feel better, don't you? It's like, goddamn, Tom Brady won another one, and the Sharks suck. Look, we did talk to Dylan Gambrell earlier in the week. Go check that out if you will. We had that article about the Fanatics and the Sharks parting ways. You can find out all that information. Drew Remenda did a great call with us about a week or so ago. Shared some great stories. You can, if you enjoyed him on the pre, post, and intermission, you're definitely going to enjoy some of the stories he had. Our buddy Kevin Lacey gave you a new episode of In the Reef about the Barracuda. That's on the YouTube channel. Talked to Ted Ramey about the Sharks Audio Network. There's just all those things. So find it all, tealtownusa.com. I'm AJ_Strong on the social media stuff, and that is 119 in the books. We'll see you in a week for episode 120. Lord knows where the hell we're going to be at that point. I hope to God it is not still at the bottom of the division. What'd you say we had to do? Like win like 2 games and we're in 4th?
Yeah, I mean, if the Sharks take these 2 games against LA and Anaheim loses, all of a sudden I think we're cooking with gas.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this, folks.
And I'm sorry I said we. I hate doing that. The Sharks are in 4th.
I'll tell you this, folks. Anaheim losing, I'd throw some money on that. I mean, they do play Vegas after all. Here's your gambling tip for Tuesday night. Vegas, take the money line.
Why has everything become gambling now? It's on the Athletic. It's on the pregame shows.
Dude, gambling's fun.
It's fun, but it's like, dude, I don't need to see infomercials on it during broadcasts, but all right. See you next week for episode 120. Catch you on the Discord.